Today's the day. Today is the day, all you amazing Mets fans. How's it going, everybody? It's your guy, Wardy, and we're back at it with our latest New York Metropolitan pregame segment here, as we're going to break down to an absolute T how these teams are matching up there in Hotlanta. More like Hurricane Hotlanta, as the weather looks horrendous this series, because of course it does. In tonight's show, presented by BetUS, America's #1 sportsbook. Make sure to check them out today, folks, by using Wardy's promo code YouTube150. That is YouTube150. That way you too get a 150% bonus on your first deposit, and then a 125% bonus on your following two, for a total of 3 for all your sports betting needs. And if you guys love being homers with your sports betting, not that I wish it, not that I suggest it, but if you are a homer type bettor and you feel amazing about your amazings tonight, I highly implore you all to hammer the Mets money line or their runs, however you want to go about it, as the Mets currently are the money line underdog, as you guys cannot see on the graphic right now because I actually have it unedited there. So let me switch that real quick and show you guys exactly what you should be looking at. There you go. The Atlanta Braves are, yes, the favorites in this matchup at -140. The Mets are at +125. What does that mean, you might ask? If you deposit $125 on the Mets to win outright against Schwalbenbach and the Braves, and should the Mets win tonight, you come out there victorious with an additional $100 for $225 total. So folks, if you want to get in on the action, highly implore you to do so right now before these live odds find themselves changing, because they always change ever so slightly from now up until game time, which is just under 2 hours away now at 7:20, as we're currently live here 5:43 p.m. Eastern to get into this. But everybody first chiming in live on a replay, thank you so much for taking the time. I greatly appreciate that. I know I'm anxious too, as each and every one of you are. We all want to see this New York Metropolitan team go out there and make a difference and make an impact, especially to really have things come full circle after being heartbroken the way that I know I surely was. It still hurts. I lost years off my life in the Hotlanta series back in 2022 to end the season and ultimately lose the division. And on the same day that Austin Riley's officially out for the season is the same day that I say I simply do not care. Go cutthroat, do everything that you need to do to secure this series victory. I know Atlanta Braves fans have been through hell this season. I know they went through injuries galore, but I'm not going to sit here and, really have the sob story go on as if us Mets fans haven't been through hell and back every single year, I feel like, since at least my fandom and the fandom of many. So my apologies for not really being all too upset or all too concerned about the 2021 World Series champions not having the healthy year that they were hoping to find themselves in. However, as I say that, I am not underestimating this Braves team. This is a World Series. This series indicates everything for them. The Mets take the first two, that's wraps. Mets are in the wild card, and Atlanta there, they are really going to have themselves a tough hill to climb there for the remainder of the way, and they want to try to at least crack in over, say, the Arizona Diamondbacks, for example, when everything is said and done. But in tonight's show, we're not only going to highlight the lineups, as you see left and right of me, we're going to get into a bunch of numbers and also the latest status on this weather, because as we know, the Mets may very well have to play at least one, if not multiple, makeup games, which no one's asking for, no one wants. Miss me with the nonsense that the Mets need to go to Milwaukee, then head back to Hotlanta for a game or two. That would be the worst scenario for this Mets team. They need to move that Thursday game up to at least 12 or 1 if they haven't already. It's nonsensical that they haven't even done that yet. I digress. We got a lot of deep dive. And oh yeah, you want to know what's going on there with Francisco Lindor, so let's break down exactly that. 125 means if you deposit 100, you come out with 125 additionally for 225. That is correct, my man. Thank you for chiming in. Let's see here, everybody. I got Yuki. Yes, my man Pat. He knows the drill. He's a beauty. Yes, he is. Pete, how you doing? Charles, PB, great member. James Carroll, great member. Mike Nixon, great moderator. Charles, Liz, Michael, Steve, K Swiss, who's a former giveaway winner on the channel. Steve, how you doing? Fletch, great member. Going up the list here. Scott A, Pat W, great member. Stony, Jesus, Joe. Get the hype going, everybody. Listen, I know that we're all angst. I know that we have a lot right now going on in Metsland that we're not all excited about. Not that we're not excited, but you know that until everything is finally done, until the nails are officially put in the coffin here, which is the Mets taking that playoff spot there in Atlanta against the Braves, until we see that happen, everyone is going to be angst today. I'm going to be angst the entire time up until we hopefully have a victory game time tonight to break down in our post-game coverage. But until then, we have a lot to get into here. So I'm going to do exactly what I did earlier today and show you guys something that I hope you enjoy. This helped put some smiles on the fans of many Mets fans today that I'm really excited to show each and every one of you. And this doesn't have to do with me, but this has to do with my little buddy, which is my amazing now 3-month-old son, Shay. I want to show you guys Shay real quick because before we get into this heated battle, this 3-game set here against the Atlanta Braves, I did want to show you guys how my day started today, which I do think you'll find yourself appreciate at least a little bit, and here it is. As you guys can see, there is Shay in all of his glory in his Mets bib today, and then if you look on the under that I'm going to show in a second, athlete logos, everyone's favorite, creator there for Mets designs, especially neon-based Mets designs, I'm going to show there in a second, is, yes, a gorgeous little piece there for Shay to wear that basically is him in an outline neon with LGM blocks on the bottom. Shout out athlete logos earlier today. He sent that my way a month or two ago, and I greatly appreciate that. Shay finally fits in it, and Shay is pumped up for this 3-game set in Atlanta. This is where we can certainly change the history. All of us Mets fans are angst about this matchup, this series. It's because of what we went through in 2022 and in years prior. The beauty of my beloved son Shay here is he doesn't have to deal with the heartache to the same degree that we've even been through in recent years. This is a new Mets, this is a new team, and this is a new fandom. And I'm so excited to see Shay as he continues to grow, hopefully into a strong Mets fan as the years go on. It's not like the name is SHEA for a reason or anything. I digress. Thank you guys for the kind words there. I appreciate that. But if that doesn't get you hyped up, I don't know what is. A little baby fever to start your day, folks. Now, to get into this, I know you're like, Wardy, love the kid. He's adorable. But I gotta be honest, I'm stressed and I'm angst. And I want to talk about none other than Francisco Lindor. And that's perfectly fine, everybody. Let's transition right into the Francisco Lindor talk. Because as we know with the latest on Francisco Lindor, it is as follows, folks. Carlos Mendoza said at pregame today that he will undergo pregame workout and then they'll basically go from there to see if he's available there to pinch hit off the bench tonight or not. He stated the following, and I quote, "He's going to be very honest with us. He's not going to be putting himself at risk. He's not going to put the team at risk either." Lindor, who prides himself on playing every single day, has already been ruled out there for that first game against the Braves, at least as a starter. Yes, you heard that correctly, everybody. If Lindor does play at all in tonight's game, it'll be as a pinch hitter, no more. Matthew, thank you so much for the $5 donation. I really appreciate that. Matthew says, let's be real, this team didn't win 102, but compare rosters, this lineup is better than 20. Oh, I know. We all know this team's better than 2022. In various ways, they are. No Vogie, no Yorme, no Ruff, no McCann. Let's effing go, boys. The same season in which this year we've had guys like Omar Narvaez, guys like Jake Diekman, guys like Zach Short, who was on the Braves as well. Guys like Joey Wendell, who was on the Braves as well. The list goes on and on. A couple schmucks the Mets dealt with this year that helped ultimately get them to where they need to be now. You have to go through these trials and tribulations to get to where you want to get. So that's the latest on Lindor there, folks. And we did see that there's no update according to Mendoza on the weather. I will preface and tell each and every one of you right now that the latest on the weather that I have seen today, going back to earlier, are two things. One, Michael K., which I will say is not as trustworthy of a source as I'd hope, only because even as passionate as he is about having the best booth in baseball, which absolutely no one agrees with, even my buddy Pat, who's a diehard Yankees fan, literally mutes yes when he watches Mets Yankee games because of how much he cannot stand Michael K. I digress. K did say today, however, that he has heard through MLB officials that if the games are rained out on Wednesday and Thursday, a doubleheader will be played on Monday. That was pretty much the worst scenario to happen for the Mets. They get absolutely screwed here, have to go to Milwaukee, just go back to Atlanta to potentially control their fate. Miss me with that bullshit. Hopefully that does not happen, because I'm not in favor of that whatsoever. And then you get in the other situations here, potentially moving up that game on Thursday to at least an earlier day game, whether that's 12 or 1 o'clock. Maybe the Mets will go down the route of something like that. I'm not exactly sure, and the Atlanta Braves are obviously going to play this to the best of their abilities to impact them greatly and no one else. So whatever is going to benefit Atlanta as they're pushing for playoffs is absolutely something that I'm sure that we're going to find ourselves having. Doubleheader on Thursday, I bet this will help Mets. Here's the thing, I don't see a chance in hell. I'm sorry. You guys got to enlighten me. I do not see a world where, in the case of the Mets and Thursday, that there's going to be a doubleheader, because I don't even think one game gets played on Thursday. The weather looks horrendous. It is an absolute wash there with the hurricane coming. We're expecting rain basically from the start as soon as tonight. So no, I do not believe Thursday doubleheader is at all in the realm of possibility. What they should really do is move this either to an offset location that, doesn't impact the Mets or the Braves, where they have an advantage. Play the games there, 1 or 2, whatever it needs to be, or take it to Citi Field, because you know what? We've won through hell and back. We've dealt with nonsense in years past. It's about time that something on the schedule finally goes in the Mets' favor. Let's get another home game or so. I realize that likely is not going to happen. Would it be electric, and would MLB and the Mets benefit greatly from all the ticket sales that'll be happening? Absolutely. But no less, we're going to do everything we can to make sure that a godforsaken series, when you look at the weather, is going to try to be figured out last minute, because that's the way that MLB and the Atlanta Braves tend to want to go about these situations, no matter how much you agree or disagree. But I wasn't done talking about Francisco Lindor. So let's reel back in for a second and let's get back to the Lindor discussion here. Because as you guys see earlier today, Lindor there, taking his groundwork there, he's taking a job. Everyone who had their, I'm sorry, pardon my French, everybody. A lot of you guys had your panties in a twist seeing Lindor walk pregame today in his outfit, not looking overly comfortable. It's almost like he has a nagging back, completely sore every single day. No shit, the guy is going to be walking spry, all, on his toes, all happy old Jovial. It ain't going to happen. He's trying to ramp up and play for his team right away. But miss me with the nonsense that we should buy into. Oh my goodness, he didn't look great in the walk. Carlos Mendoza basically looks like the Penguin, depending on the angle they're going to find himself walking. No, it is not the newest episode there from Max. It is in fact Carlos Mendoza. So again, I preface each and every one of you, it's very easy for us to be our own doctors when we have no degree nor any experience. It's very easy to say, you know what, I had a back injury back in my day and I couldn't get through it. I can't see why Lindor could. How about you keep those thoughts to yourself and we just focus on what's in front of us right now? And these are the latest on Lindor's warm-ups. Here's Francisco Lindor now running the bases that we saw earlier today as well there per SNY. Appreciate the coverage. As we know with Francisco Lindor, there is a two-parter to this. There is a pro and there is potentially a con. Let's get into the pro here per Francisco Lindor today. He received a bone scan yesterday per Anthony Nacomo that confirmed no structural damage. This is going to continue to be one of those things that is a day-by-day thing, and he very well could even pinch hit as soon as tonight, depending on how healthy and how ready he's feeling with Lindor. The problem here is that this is the same Lindor that entered today's game that we saw with a heavy heat wrap around his back, which you'd expect because he's still sore, but the fact that he's still sore to that degree after taking his shot, which is supposed to help those areas, tells me that this is just one of those things. As Lindor even stated himself a night or two ago, he is not going to be in a position where he is full-fledged healthy anytime he plays for the Mets again this season. If Lindor gives the Mets any quality at bats in, say, the DH position, or somehow, some way he does muster all the way back there to potentially playing as shortstop, he will be dealing with a nagging back injury the entire rest of the way. So it's going to be not only about pain management for Francisco Lindor, and also making sure that he makes sure that there's that hard line in the sand from, I really want to play today, but I know that if I play today, I selfishly could be playing my team up for failure. I don't want to risk that. Lindor has been great on conversing with the Mets and Luisangel Acuna every single day to make sure that they're not completely caught off guard by anything. Acuna has stepped in those shoes beautifully, better than anyone could honestly ask for in that position since going down with injury for the past 8 games, which is Lindor. But now the big question is, will Francisco be available off the bench tonight? That is what we'll find out by, basically either this conversation's end or hopefully something that we will see sooner rather than later here. Here is Ronnie and Luisangel chopping up with Starling Marte earlier pregame today. They also did a jersey swap, which I thought was very cool, that I'll actually show you guys right now here on X. There you guys go. There is Acuna, and there's Acuna times 2 rather, and Luisangel and Ronnie. Man, would I have loved to see this matchup happen tonight, because yes, I don't want to face arguably one of the best players in all the National League in Ronald Acuna Jr. However, I do want to see a rivalry continue to build, not only with these respective teams, but now with the Brotherhood. That is a fun rivalry. That's an exciting one in the peak of it for these two teams, and hopefully we see that transpire in the coming years between the both clubs, should Ronald Acuna Jr. stay with the Atlanta Braves long term. Not that I wish it, just something to bear in mind. So that's the latest there on Acuna, everybody. Now to get back in on Lindor, let's see if we found out anything else. Let's see Acuna there. Both of the Acunas now smiling with Alex Cohen pregame today. That is awesome to see. Shout out to TT Alex. If you know, she has just been absolutely fantastic, working around the ballpark all year round at Citi Field, working around with the communities around Citi Field as well, and just literally as selfless as they come. I had a fantastic interaction when I met her personally last year, and she just goes out of her way to make sure that she takes the time to talk with all these fans and also kind of give them insight. And I would be lying if I didn't say that in my one conversation I had with her, she shared some things that, honestly just reaffirmed exactly how we thought about previous ownership, and is exactly why I appreciate her and Steve as much as I do. There's there's a lot of things that we don't know in the public eye that is basically putting two and two together. It's almost like previous ownership didn't have a clue what they were doing, and now the current ownership not only has a clue what they're doing, but is trying to fix the mess to the best of their abilities over the past 3.5, 4 years. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Okay, guys, let's see what you got for me in the chat here. We're going to break down the laps left and right here in a minute. Ethan talks about Dravnik. We love Mark. I don't believe Mark is in the chat, but we love him, and he's an absolute beauty. Matthew, thank you so much for that donation earlier again. I greatly appreciate that, folks. But let me also make sure that I have all the latest updates for each and every one of you, because I got a lot to say here on the following topics. Because we did see earlier today or yesterday reported from Sean Sprodling there on X, Mark Vientos wants to play for the Dominican Republic in the World Baseball Classic. I know that this is out of left field, but let's just talk about it briefly. Vientos, who tried representing Team Nicaragua there that we saw in the WBC back in 2023, is now going to have the opportunity to play for DR potentially for the next time the WBC happens over the next year or two. So that's exciting as long as he stays healthy and we don't have an Edwin Diaz situation again, knocking on wood. But that's the latest there, a little tidbit that I wasn't expecting to hear today, nor am I really complaining. But that's the latest on that. But as we know on the status of the weather, when we look at this matchup for Wednesday and Thursday, the weather doesn't look great tomorrow. It looks horrendous Thursday. The Mets will be lucky if they can go out of Atlanta with a playoff spot secured before having to deal with Milwaukee. But the best way for the Mets to control this is to, in fact, secure the first two games of the series. Game one should be a go. There shouldn't be hopefully any issues outside of maybe incompetent baseball by the Mets. We'll see what happens there. I hope not. I believe not, even as the Braves will be guns a-blaze in this matchup. But then we look at the weather here beyond tonight. And tomorrow's a question mark, as we know. But if they potentially maybe move the game a little bit earlier in the day, I know that's probably a harder thing to do, easier said than done, especially with fans attending. However, you got to figure out something, knowing how tight the schedule is, knowing how the Mets could potentially be ruined and absolutely screwed by having to play on an off day after the Brewers series should they have to go back to Atlanta. These are things that we want to try to avoid. But what the Mets need to do is to control their destiny first and foremost tonight. If they control their destiny with a victory today, that at least lessens the stress a decent bit heading into Wednesday's matchup, as we have no clue what the status of that game is currently going to be. So that's the latest there on all those key updates, everybody. And I did want to throw out this little stat for you, which I thought was fantastic, having everything to do with Edwin Sugar Diaz. And don't be surprised if I relay this information yet again in tonight's post-game coverage, and we will be live right after the conclusion of tonight's hopefully victorious matchup against the Atlanta Braves. And it is the following. Edwin Diaz, since his back-to-back blow-ups on the Mets' West Coast trip in August there against San Diego to Jackson Merrill, and then Corbin Carroll with the grand salami there in Arizona, things have been pretty dominant to say the least. In 13 appearances, he has a 0.68 ERA, 6 hits allowed, 25 strikeouts, 3 walks, a ridiculous K-to-walk ratio there, just simply filthy, not fair. And this is the Edwin Diaz that we did see in 2022. This is the dominance that we have seen. A man that was literally striking out half the batters he's facing, if not more, is literally what he's doing now over this stretch. 25 out of 50 to be exact over the past 13 appearances during his recent run. If that is impressive, I don't know what is. If that doesn't help build excitement and confidence right now, in the case of Edwin Sugar Diaz, after securing 10 outs from the Mets in a 24-hour span, I simply don't know what does. Shout out to Sugar for doing amazing things this season, proving a lot of fans wrong after what was a very up and down season at this point. Yes, we know Edwin is not going to be perfect every time out there, but he is reliable and he is an arm that the Mets will be banking on big time down the stretch for the rest of the way this regular season and hopefully then postseason play. Now let's get into everything on the laps, as you see from the left and the right, everybody. But before I do, we did just get one final live tweet here from X that I do want to show each and every one of you. I have no clue what's going on in the chat either, Jesus. There's just always, you're going to have a certain back and forth, and that's okay. But as you guys can see right here, we see Francisco Lindor is taking BP there from the right side. Not seeing anything from the left side, but mind you, this is literally live tweeted as it just happened 11 seconds ago in Atlanta there, between the Mets and the Braves, thanks to SNY with the footage here. Lindor taking some hacks, looking okay, looking fairly comfortable. You know, again, I'm not going to read into it too much. Simply put, guys, we're either going to see Lindor as a pinch hitter later tonight or we're not. That's all it's going to be. And if it doesn't happen, then okay. Then Acuna can hopefully continue to lead the way there, as he has done greatly all season long in the shortstop position. And Jesse Winker, who I said yesterday is a guy that I'm eyeing big time in tonight's matchup specifically. I love how the lineup looks for him. I do have one specific gripe on the lineup that I'm going to share briefly. But before I do, let's take a look at who the Mets are facing here in the Atlanta Braves. And as you guys can see from the following lineup, you got Michael Harris as second with 715 OPS, commanding center field, batting leadoff. Ozzie Albies with a 707 OPS, commanding second base there and batting the 2-hole. Marcell Ozuna, everyone's favorite slugger, said absolutely nobody outside of Atlanta, a 941 OPS in the DH position, batting third. Matt Olson, you might as well call him Pete Alonso, because they collectively have had such underwhelming seasons, so loopy with their swings, and have had a lot of swing to miss in general. He knows he has a flair for the dramatic against this Mets team. He also had a key home run against David Pearson a year and a half ago that I wouldn't be shocked to see tomorrow happen. Either way, keep an eye on Olson. He's a Mets killer. Even if he isn't playing his best baseball, he always knows how to show up, especially against this Metropolitan club. Jorge Soler, known for the power after being traded in pretty much a salary dump deal with the San Francisco Giants around the deadline. He returns there to hopefully have his MVP heroics as he did there in the playoffs back in 2021. Thankfully, that was 3 seasons ago, and thankfully, I'm confident about my Mets team. Jorge Soler, with a just under 800 OPS, is batting fifth there in right field. Piss poor defense. All I gotta say is Jose Iglesias, rip that opposite field double down the first baseline, please, and thank you. I know Soler has a tremendous arm, but he has to get there first, and all it takes is a little stumble to help Jose hopefully leg a double, potentially into maybe a triple. Ramon Laureano there, batting sixth. He's been playing pretty solid baseball, along with Gio Urshela, those late fill-ins for the Atlanta Braves as late season pickups this year due to their injuries. Laureano famously overrunning that ball by Jeff McNeil, and the Mets key walk-off victory against the Atlanta Braves earlier this season, in which I was in attendance for. The one game I saw the Mets actually win out of the 4 I attended this year. Yes, we had some bad luck. It is what it is, folks. That's what happens when you go to 2 games against the Braves, 2 games against the Phillies. It just isn't going to go your way every time, and it is what it is. The same way it is what it is, not only will Laureano is 752 OPS, commanding left field, batting 6th, but Travis d'Arnaud, who always loves to torch his former team, 743 OPS at catcher, batting 7th. Why? Because Sean Murphy, when healthy, has not been that guy for them at all this season. Gio Urshela batting 8th there, a guy that I wanted preseason for the Mets to pick up, basically as their Jose Iglesias, which was Zach Short originally, and Joey Wendell. Urshela, who was parted with from the Detroit Tigers earlier this year, picked up by the Atlanta Braves, and did have a key home run for them just a couple days ago, leading to their victory. 645 OPS, commanding the hot corner, as Austin Riley's officially done for the rest, at least, of the regular season. Orlando Arcia, which absolutely everybody hates, is 628 OPS, batting 9th there at the shortstop position. And Schwellenbach, who won 7 innings of 2-hit, 0-earned run, 11 strikeout baseball against the Mets towards the end of July. They're trying to rewrite that script, and I'm telling you right now, if they do rewrite it, it's going to be because of some guys that I'm going to break down, highlighted by one singular lefty bat. But it starts with Jose Iglesias, because Jose, oh my God, he has been fantastic for this Mets team at 840 OPS, so well over 300 average, the best leadoff hitter you could ask for with Francisco Lindor out with injury currently. 840 OPS, commanding second base. Brandon Nimmo, 740 OPS, the home run heroics have been there. I'm feeling at least one more home run for Brandon in this series. I think he has some really nice matchups. You might say, Wardy, Sale, Fried, how does he match up? Well, Nimmo is one of the Mets' best hitters in their lineup against left-handed pitching. It will be a tall task against guys in Sale and in the case of Fried, but I can definitely see him taking his pitches and hopefully working some key walks and some long, really grinded out at-bats. Starling Marte, 718 OPS there, and he is commanding right field. I don't hate Marte in the 3-hole, but I don't love it either. Curious where you guys stand on that. Let me know in the live show to everyone watching live and on a replay right now. Pete Alonso, the polar bear, looking to make a statement in one of his final series, potentially as a New York Metropolitan, at 802 OPS, commanding first base. Jesse Winker, Winky is who I'm eyeing, everybody. With JD Martinez's continued incompetence over his past 30-plus games with his at-bats, Jesse Winker needs to have a big day, and I think he will against Schwellenbach. Schwellenbach really likes to hammer the top of the zone as well, and that's where a guy in Winker can come into play. And if you're wondering, Wardy, Winker didn't hit shit against Schwellenbach back in late July. Why does it matter? It does matter because this is the same Winker that was not in New York Metropolitan when the Mets faced Schwallenbach. It was literally 4 days later the Mets traded for Jesse Winker as that key lefty bat there to handle corner outfield and certain DH positions, facing right-hand pitching mainly. I love this matchup for Winker. He's had tremendous clutch numbers this season. We know he's had the many home run heroics when they've been called upon for the Nationals and the Mets. And as Yuki Matsui says in the chat right now, Winker has a 385 average with 10 hits, 2 RBIs, and 5 runs scored in 9 games versus the Braves this season. I'm sure that is courtesy of StatMuse, but wherever you got it, Yuki, maybe it was Baseball Reference, I greatly appreciate that, because that's a nice little nitpick stat that we highlight right now, especially when we're about to face the Atlanta Braves. So needless to say, Jesse Winker in the 5-hole on paper, I like that for this matchup, if I got to be completely honest with you. Now, as we get into number 6, that is Swaggy V, Daddy V, Mark Vientos. Mark, who's looking for a big series here in Atlanta, facing off some great pitching. I think he has all the flair for the dramatic to make it happen with one key breakout game. My honest prediction, I think Vientos has one really bad game this series where he strikes out at least 3 times, and that could be against Sale, who knows how to carve up even righty sluggers as well as anybody in the game. But then I look at least one game where Vientos, even if it isn't up until against the bullpen, I think we're going to see at least one home run or a key RBI double, if not multiple in this series, hopefully for Vientos. Again, maybe I'm being too conservative with him because I have faith in the depth of this lineup, but Vientos batting 6, he's going to see some pitches to hit, and I like those odds for the Mets big time in this matchup. Tyrone Taylor, who has been tremendous for the Mets, who has played himself into now a role of being an everyday player. Way Harrison Bader's continued struggles. He's batting 7th, a 721 OPS, commanding center field. Tyrone, who's had some big hits in Atlanta against this Braves team, as he did earlier this year, like DJ Stewart among others. I have a feeling that Tyrone is going to continue to just be that level-headed ball player that you know and expect him to be. Don't be shocked if you see Tyrone Taylor coming up clutch in the 8th inning at some point in this series. It feels inevitable, just a matter of when versus if potentially. Francisco Alvarez, this is the one gripe I have with the lineup, everybody. I want Alvy higher. I have loved how Alvarez has swung the bat. He has raised his OPS greatly just over the past week alone. At 7-11 might not seem like much, but Alvy was really free-falling, and this is the first month since going back to June in which Alvarez has an OPS around 800 or so. All the previous months have been horrendous. The slugging right around the 500 range or so. Alvarez is taking hacks exactly as you'd hope and expect him to, and one who made his MLB debut against the Atlanta Braves in that gut-wrenching series there in Atlanta that we saw all those years ago in 2022. Now is time for redemption. Francisco Alvarez is the best catcher on the field every single night between the two teams, and I fully expect him to have himself a big series. My big gripe, my lone gripe, is that Alvarez is batting all the way 8th when I think you could rightfully argue moving Alvarez up here, potentially batting behind Vientos, having Taylor in the 8-hole. I wouldn't even hate Alvarez moving all the way up in certain situations and batting above Vientos depending on the matchup, just because of how excited and really how locked in Alvarez has looked at the plate lately. That is my one criticism, my one. Alvarez, 5 home runs in 8 games, absolutely fantastic. Alvy for president, I know, no politics, I'm sorry, it's okay, that's an exception. I think we can all get on board with that one, regardless of what party that you find yourself affiliated with, right? Isaac, how you doing? Let's see here. What if Lindor is not being truthful? What if he sees Acuna doing so well, he's letting the kid have his time to shine? He knows once he comes back, Acuna could be sent down. Nope. Zero what ifs behind that. Acuna, I guarantee, will not be sent down when Lindor can ultimately be back with the Mets here. Why? Because Lindor is actively on the roster. We have to realize this is an expanded roster. Acuna is going to continue to get playing time as long as he plays the way that he's playing right now. Lindor, when he returns, will likely be batting in DH more than anything else. The fact that this guy has had the struggles that he has had so far tells you that Lindor is not healthy, tells you that he isn't being selfish either, and tells you that when Lindor is ready, he will be back with this Mets team. Was my comment 5 minutes ago, Worry? We are geniuses. Well, at least you. No, right back at you, Jack. I greatly appreciate that. I'm glad that great minds think alike, my man. What if I told you $351 million to sit on the bench? Would you care? Considering the fact that that isn't Lindor's contract, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind at all. I'm not worried about that. Lindor ain't making $351, my man. He is making right around $341. My memory's not mistaken, because he has $1 million over Fernando Tatis Jr. It's $331 and $341, but I know for damn sure it ain't $351 if we're not counting the bonuses. Dave, great memory. How are you, my man? Happy to have you in here. Drew Gilbert had a tremendous end to the regular season there in the minor leagues. We all saw that. So did Jet Williams. 2 guys that would be awesome to impact the Mets, but you know it's a good problem that the Mets have right now when they're in a position where we don't need to desperately look at some some key call-ups in the minor leagues to give us an offensive life and, a jump, a boost, if you will. The Mets just need to play their game. They got to control their destiny, and good things are going to happen. Do I think the Mets will sweep? No, I don't. As much as I'd love them to, John, I hope they prove me wrong. I don't. I think that has a bit more to do with not only how much this series means to Atlanta as well, but also the weather. That's really going to throw a wrench in everything beyond the first game here. That is why game one is so important for both these clubs, as exactly why the Mets need to go out there and do some damage. Shay looks just like you. I have a daughter named Madison Shay and a daughter named Gracie Ray for Mr. That's Sharon. Thank you so much for being a great member and for sharing your story about your family. That is amazing. Love that your daughter's names are what they are, especially Madison Shay, because I think of Madison Square Garden and Shea Stadium right away. I'm not sure if you thought the same regarding Madison at all if you're a Ranger fan, but regardless, love the names. Thank you so much. And yes, he's absolutely pumped up and he's excited about this series against the Atlanta Braves. Not that isn't the first Atlanta Braves series that he's going to be a part of now, because I do believe that this will be his second. This will, however, be the first one where, it's wow, like, okay, big stakes here. I know you're just 3 months out here, Shay, but listen up, baby. We got to talk about how vital this is for the Mets and how much this means everything to the Atlanta Braves. Let's see. Where do you think them answer that in regards to that? Let me go up in the chat here. Just give me 1 second. Wish I wasn't midnight here in Norway. I want to see all these games. Tristan, stay up. I love you, Tristan. I don't know why you're in Norway. If you're based out there, that's amazing. If you are, tell Matt Zuccarello I said hello, the most famous hockey player to ever come from the country of Norway, and he's on my wall right now. Yes, I'm a big hockey guy, and I love Matt Zuccarello, the short schmuck that's great with the hands there, still killing it with the Minnesota Wild. If you know, you know. But outside of that, I got to tell each and every one of you, when I take a look at these two matchups, when I look at the Braves, when I look at the Mets, my confidence is not wavered. My confidence is only impacted based on what we find out the stats of, maybe to a degree with Lindor beyond what happens tonight, but also just how the Mets handle their respective starting pitching. They got absolutely mowed down by Schwellenbach back, I believe, July 27th is the exact date in which that happened. Change the narrative, make up for what you lost back then, and good things are going to happen. It definitely looks more like mom than dad. Isaac, funny enough, we get a lot of people saying Shay looks like a spitting image of me when I was a baby. We have seen some people, however, say he looks exactly like the mama. So it depends on who you ask, but no less, I appreciate the kind words there. Anthony Viola, thank you so much for the $5 holla. Just joined in on the live. Have you talked about the possible scenarios if there's to be a doubleheader? Yes, I have. And no, I'm not happy about them. I'm not really happy with any scenario that has to do with the Mets not being scheduled the way that they're scheduled right now, because there's more at stake for the Mets here than I think there is for anything else, right? The Braves, they control their destiny. We know that we know their season's on the line as we speak, but for the Mets, they still haven't secured postseason play. Until that is secured, we're all going to be angst, we're all going to be on edge. That's just how it's going to be, and hopefully for the Mets, they can get off on the right foot tonight and secure that game one victory. Okay, guys, let me double check here. And this is the latest, as I showed you guys just a couple seconds ago, the latest on Francisco Lindor. He's taken some hacks there on the field there in Atlanta at Truist Park, and hopefully he is a guy that can impact the Mets at some point as soon as tonight. But by all means, don't rush him, don't push him. We just want him back when he's ready, and Lindor knows that. We all know that, and thankfully, seriously, thankfully, the brilliance of Luis Angel Acuna has completely changed the thought process behind having a desperation level that you need your MVP caliber player in Francisco Lindor back to now saying, okay, can we stay afloat without him? We have greatly at this point. Can we continue to do that? Tonight will be the latest test of exactly that. But here's the latest from Anthony DeComo. As you guys see here, Francisco Lindor update. Oh wait, that was actually tweeted just a couple seconds ago. Here we go. Lindor is taking batting practice more extremely than he did on Sunday from both sides of the plate. Batting left-handed. He's put a couple balls into the chop house section at Truist Park. So that's where the optimism starts to kick in just a little bit. The first thing I see is someone acting like they're yanking. You guys are sick. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't understand completely the thought process there right away. Of course you juiced up. Of course the blood flow just went 0 to 100 when you saw that there's optimism behind Francisco Lindor playing tonight. But yes, everybody, Anthony Como states the following. I'll repeat it once more. Lindor is taking batting practice more extensively than he did on Sunday from both sides of the plate. Batting left-handed, he's put a couple balls into the chop house section at Truist Truist Park. So that's lays there on Francisco Lindor, everybody. Simply put, he's going to play tonight and hopefully have a huge clutch pinch hit home run, or he ain't going to do squat. And that's okay as long as the Mets are victorious in the end. Anthony, thank you for that donation. I greatly appreciate that. Yes, we did go back and we talked about some scenarios of whether the Mets potentially even consider a doubleheader as soon as tomorrow, and they can leg it out earlier in the day. Hard thing to do when the weather doesn't look great this Wednesday as is, but Thursday is such a wash that you have to feel that something needs to be decided by tonight's end, because if not, we're going to have ourselves a major problem with the uncertainty heading into tomorrow's game and then ultimately Thursday there. But that's pretty much the latest on that. We just want to avoid a doubleheader on Monday where the Mets would get absolutely screwed, have to fly back to Atlanta on their off day after handling the Milwaukee Brewers in that series in which we have no clue what's going to happen, and then you have to deal with the outcome from whatever could be had there, when there's no guarantee that the Mets will have playoffs in lock by that situation either, by that day rather. That's not a good situation to be in if you're the Mets, but hopefully they can avoid it. We don't know yet, so until we know, it is what it is. I've been asked this question a lot, and I understand because Acuna hasn't been on the roster long this year, at least with the Mets, but he has been on the active 40-man all year. Why is that important, Joey NYM? You might ask. Great name, love that. Simply means he's available for playoffs. That's why Acuna isn't going anywhere. That's why that regardless on the status of Francisco Lindor, Luis Angel Acuna will be on the Mets playoff roster. We are now talking about Luis Angel Acuna potentially being a more guarantee fit on this Mets playoff roster than JD Martinez. Could you imagine saying that at any point this season? Could you just fathom that thought? That's the world we're living in right now. That is a reality. The Mets will be favoring a hot hand, and the Mets will prioritize position versatility. They will prioritize the guys that give them the best chance to win every time out there. And right now, as crazy as it is to say, if we had a nitpick, not that I think the Mets may have to do this, but if you had to, Acuna is the guy you're taking 10 out of 10 every single day of the week over someone in JD Martinez. It's insane to fathom, but that's the reality that we're currently in right now. Yes. Let's see here. As the walk-off as the away team. Oh, I don't know who said the Mets are going to win in a walk-off. Sadly, they can't, even if they want to, because they are away, as Priest just alluded to there. I can't believe, like, walking around Priest, relax, pump the brakes, okay? It is what it is. We're going to get through this. The same way each and every one of you are somehow, some way going to get through this matchup tonight. And what you're going to do when you're done going through that matchup and after you're screaming your head off by the Mets hopefully taking game one of the series, you're going to go on YouTube right away. You're going to click that notification that says Mets take game one, or, Mets lose game one, sadly, whatever it might be. And you're going to hammer that WardyNYM post game tonight. Why? Because you guys are amazing, and I cannot wait to see each and every one of you there. The fact that we got roughly 400 concurrent viewers breaking down pregame coverage tells me all I need to know about how each and every one of these games are going to go, each post game, everything in between, guys. It's going to be bananas. It's going to be absolutely wild, but I'm going to be here through the thick of it until the very end, like each and every one of you. Shout out Wardy, Dino, shout out you, and all you amazing Mets fans. Thank you guys so much for making my dream a continued reality by supporting me the great way that you guys have. And I don't know where we are in the like count, everybody, but if you guys could help us get to 100, if not 150 likes by the end of the live show to all my live and reoccurring viewers, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you all so much. We are going to be wrapping up the live show here in just a couple minutes, but before I do, I would like to answer any comments, questions, or concerns you guys and gals got for me. As you guys can see, we have the matchups here, so the final thing I will share with each and every one of you is the Mets couldn't hit a lick against Schwellenbach. So that's the big thing. Get up on him early. I just want to see the Mets have quality at-bats against Schwellenbach early, so that way we avoid the deja vu that we faced last time we faced him on July 27th. Luis Severino, B. Sevy. All I want from you, Sevy, give us six or seven strong innings, 2 or 3 earned run ball. Just keep us in the ball game like you have pretty much every single start this season. Just hoping for a great game. Likewise, Robert, and I appreciate the respectable Braves fans in the chat too. We have a lot of OG Braves followers here on the channel that are very kind. We have ones that love to talk shit, but rightfully so. If you beat up on us, it's your time to talk. The same way that if the Mets beat up on the Braves tonight, I'm talking shit left, right, and center. And if you say, oh, it's because of the injuries, I'll say I don't care. Every season we deal with injuries. Every team deals with injuries. Let's look back at the 2022 Mets. We dealt with a good chunk of that season without Jacob deGrom. We dealt with Max Scherzer out for multiple months. We dealt with so much, even going back then, the same way we dealt with last year, the same way we've dealt without Kodai Senga all this year. Like, we have dealt with these issues, same way that we dealt with Lindor without him for the past 8 games. Like, this shit sucks, 100%. I don't wish injury on anyone, any team, no matter how much I love or hate them. But Having said that, I'm not going to sit here and use these as the endless excuses. Control your destiny, and then we're going to find ourselves in a great situation. Let's see here, everybody. What you guys got for me? Mets 4-2 on the road. That would be an amazing end to the season. A 4-2 road trip to cap things off would be chef's kiss, all you could ask for. You're basically taking 2 out of 3 against the Braves, 2 out of 3 against Milwaukee. That would be arguably best scenario, along with obviously if you just won 6 straight. And by all means, you're going to dick around, and that's exactly a great outcome that can happen, but I think we're getting ahead of ourselves, so we think that's a certainty, right? Do you have faith that the Mets can take the number 1 wild card spot sometime this week or next? No, not at all. I don't have faith in the Mets taking the number 1 wild card spot, and the reason why, the Padres and the Arizona Diamondbacks play against each other the final series of the season. All the Padres need to do is control their destiny, and they're going to stay in that top wild card spot. Could things change? Are the Mets still within reach of securing that first wildcard spot? Yes, but I'm far more concerned on making sure that you crack playoffs than I am on playoff standing. When the Mets have playoffs secured is when we can start to talk a bit more about, okay, are they for certain going to be in the number 2 spot like they are right now, a half game above Arizona? Are they going to be in the 3 spot? Are they going to somehow, some way get all the way to number 1? Because the Padres free-falling in their last couple of games to end the season. I will worry about that then. Until then, I got nothing to talk about on that front. Let's see. Shout out my $400 Zach Wilson fail. Mike, why are we on a Zach Wilson topic here? What in God's name are we getting on? Zach Wilson, all I know is that man's enjoying himself riding the bench there in Denver. And I'm not a Jets fan, so I don't even care. So that's the latest on that. But guys and gals, I think that is going to do it now for the live show. Before we get out of here, I am going to double check to make sure that I didn't miss any key reports from now on X, as the Mets game will officially begin in an hour from the time of us being live here, which is 6:21 p.m. Eastern. Yep, the latest on Lindor is that he's just taking better hacks there in BP. He's looking more locked in, and he's looking more of a possibility to bat as a pinch hitter today off the bench than he has been available for any other previous game since going down with his back injury. So on that note, everybody, I will see you all later tonight, right after the conclusion of Game 1 between the Mets and the Braves. Win, lose, or draw, either way, we will be covering it. We're going to have a lot to say. I'm going to be hot-headed, scream my head off, probably no matter the outcome. So until then, everybody, have a fantastic rest of your night, day, evening, whenever you're watching this, and make sure you tune in for all your post-game coverage needs live here on YouTube, sometimes on X as well, and wherever you get your audio podcasts. Spotify, Apple, Google, you name it. Check us out there on all their respective platforms. Thank you all so much, and I'll see you all for a big show tonight. Let's go Mets, baby. Let's get the job done, and let's take Game 1. Peace out.